This clip is sponsored by Med Travelers. If you're an SLP interested in travel therapy, visit medtravelers.com to get started. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about treatment. And so, you do the assessment. I know this is different depending on, they're no two the same, but what does it usually look like? Do you establish goals with them? How are they measured? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when I write the report, I'll write down my recommendations, but I always meet with the student and I go over the assessment report, and then I'll tell them so these are some recommendations that I have. You tell me what you think you need to work on, or tell me what's important to you. And so that you will have already done the motivational interview, and that you should have some idea, but then they can confirm, because they could change their mind from what they told you at the assessment period. And so for some, because concussions can be very mild, like if it's the first one, and the symptoms have resolved themselves, it may just be that we're just going to monitor them for a little while and see how they do. For others, they may be performing extremely well, but they need accommodations to give them a little extra time, because maybe they still have physical symptoms and or they may experience some mental fatigue, and so they need some breaks in between, or a little more time on their tests. For those who do present with like cognitive impairments, I kind of take it by the domain. So what I tend to see a lot is difficulty with attention. Attention is a big one. And so a lot of them will say even, when I'm having conversations with my friends, I often lose track of what the conversation was about. And so we may have to work with them on knowing when they may need to take a break. Attention is one of the areas where you can drill, and drill works. And so you may have a goal where you work on drilling for attention with distractors, because the classroom is very distracting. Yes. We may say, okay, we want you to work on maintaining your attention on an assignment for 8 to 10 minutes. And if they do have mental fatigue, maybe we need to also have a goal that says you're going to utilize mindfulness strategies on some of your breaks, right? If it's memory, you can't really drill it like that, but it's a lot of strategy, compensatory strategy. So it's either internal memory aids, which might be like the verbal rehearsal, imagery, mnemonics, and things like that. A lot of what we end up doing is the use of external devices. So using the apps, having the homework assignments, for schedules, whatever else that they need to do, the calendar. And then for executive functions, this could be a lot of different things. Yeah. But what I tend to see the most with my students is that they need support in organization and prioritization. And that's where you mentioned earlier the emotional piece, because they will have missed classes and then they're waiting for accommodations, and they have to catch up on old stuff, but they still have the current things that are coming up. And in college, if you miss 1 to 3 classes, it's almost a semester is done. And so what I tend to see is that they'll have a hard time trying to organize all the things that they need to do and how to prioritize. So we'll work on those kind of things. And so it does really depend on the student and what their needs are.
Well, and I love that it's also practical. So it's not, it's applicable to their life in that moment, but then also once they're done and, are going to find a job and do other things. Is there some sort of format where they do get accommodations with their professors? Is there a letter or something sent where they may need extra time to do a test, or they may need to have some sort of special accommodations? Is that something that happens as well?
Yeah. And so at the college level, it's very interesting because they don't get IEPs.
Yeah,
in
that's what I was
college.
thinking. Yeah.
But they can get accommodations.
Okay.
So the 504 plan still exists at the college
interesting.
level.
Okay.
And so, we have to, they have to have, that's why the SLP is so important, because it has to come from a licensed professional, the report and the request. The athletic trainers, as much as they would want to, they wouldn't accept it from them, right? And so, we're able to get them formal accommodations. Sometimes the process can be lengthy, and so the person from student services may reach out to professors and say, hey, we have this in process, if you can give them a little bit, but professors also, they don't have to unless they have that formal, but a lot of professors can be very accommodating. There's some every once in a while we have some hard times with, but they can get formal accommodations. The student has to request it.
Okay.
So I will send in the report, but the request has to come from the student, and they have to request it every semester.